Bonsoir, good evening, and welcome to our third annual information meeting. My name is Tom Maston, and I'm the chairperson of the Board of Trustees of the CBE Pension Plan. I've been a trustee on pension boards for approximately 20 years, and I've been a member of this board since its inception as a shared risk plan. Marilyn Quinn and I are the remaining two original board members from that change. We are very pleased that you have been able to join us this evening, and thank you for being here. Before we continue, it is important that we acknowledge the land on which we gather. Though we are gathering virtually, our team, along with the Board of Trustees and today's presenters, are located throughout the province of New Brunswick. We respectfully acknowledge that New Brunswick is situated on the unceded and unsurrendered territories of the Wolastoqey, Mi'kmaq, and Pesco-Toto-Mokati peoples. We seek to repair and rebuild meaningful relationships with Indigenous peoples and honor these lands which hold the hopes of future generations. The agenda for tonight is welcome and open remarks. There will be an update on the health of your pension plan, and then we will have a question and answer session. This evening, I'm joined by my fellow board members and two presenters, Yves Plourde, actuary and partner with TELUS Health, the plan's independent actuary, and Sean Hewitt, the president and CEO of Escor Inc., the plan's investment manager and administration services provider. Yves and Sean will provide an update on the financial health of the plan. Following their presentations, we will remain available to answer your questions, including those submitted in advance of the meeting. I'm going to introduce the members of the Board of Trustees, and I'll ask the trustees maybe to turn on your cameras while we go through the introductions. The board is comprised of the following members. If you're curious to learn more about any of us, more details, autobiographies are online at cbenb.ca/board. Matt Hiltz is the vice chairperson of the CBE Board of Trustees. He is legal counsel and chief negotiator for the New Brunswick Nurses Union. Paula Doucette is president of the New Brunswick Nurses Union. Mark Gaudette is retired assistant deputy minister responsible for strategic services for the GMB Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. Richard Luton is the managing director, capital markets, treasury division of the governments of New Brunswick. Ben Mergereau is assistant deputy minister with the Department of Social Development, currently serving in the role of seniors and long-term care. Susie Pruhl-Daig, president of the New Brunswick Union. Marilyn Quinn, retired nurse and past president of the New Brunswick Nurses Union. Maria Richard, first vice president of the New Brunswick Nurses Union. Maria is an RN and a public health nurse in Moncton. Lisa Waters, director of the specialized healthcare component and a member of the board of directors for the New Brunswick Union. There are two observers on the board, Catherine Little, Hospital Part 3 representative for the New Brunswick Nurses Union Board of Directors and a registered nurse employed with the St. John Regional Hospital Emergency Department. And Lee Sprague, executive director of the New Brunswick Union. Lee provides legal advice and representation to the New Brunswick Union. Over 10 years ago, the CBE pension plan converted to the plan it is today. The purpose of this change was simple and has remained consistent: to provide a secure and sustainable pension plan, providing lifetime pensions to all members. We are very proud of the outcomes of the plan to date and where it stands today, which our presenters will share with you in further detail this evening. Our first guest this evening is Yves Plourde, actuary and partner with TELUS Health, the plan's independent actuary. An actuary is an expert in the mathematics of finance. Yves and his team study the plan's funding level, conducting a series of risk management tests and much more to examine the financial health of the plan on an annual basis. As a quick reminder, information will be presented in English and French this evening. Please remember that simultaneous interpretation is available. If you wish to hear the presentations all in English or all in French, select your preferred option using the interpretation button. For most of you, it will appear on the bottom of your screen, although this may differ based on how you're viewing this meeting. And welcome, Yves.
Great. Thanks a lot, Tom. So as Tom mentioned, my name is Yves Plourde, and I'm an actuary with TELUS Health. I'm pleased to be here tonight to walk you through the results of the most recent actuarial valuation for the shared risk plan for certain bargaining employees of New Brunswick hospitals as at December 31st, 2024. I'll start with a short summary of the membership in the plan. I'll review the evolution of the assets and the plan liabilities over the years, discuss the resulting financial position, not only at December 31st, 2024, but also through the recent past. I will then review the risk management test results that we track annually, provide information on the cost of living adjustment that was awarded by the Board of Trustees for January 1st, 2026, and end my presentation with a review of a new communication tool put in place by the trustees last year involving traffic lights. Let's start with the plan's membership. You can see that the number of active members represented by the tall green bars has grown significantly over the last 4 years to a total of 12,277 plan members, active plan members, as at December 31st, 2024. This growth in active members is of great benefit to the plan and will assist in providing additional security to your plan benefits and therefore reduce overall risk for all members. An increase in active membership also increases the ability to continuously provide cost of living adjustments to all plan members. The number of retirees represented by the purple bars continues to grow at a steady speed, which we do expect will continue for the foreseeable future. The plan has a total of 4,728 retirees at December 31st, 2024. On the asset side, the pension fund, depicted by the blue bars here, has increased significantly over the years from about $1.8 billion at the end of 2015 to about $3.4 billion as of December 31st, 2024. After a slight reduction in assets during the year 2022, the plan has now recovered by leaps and bounds over the last 2 years. The investment return in 2024 was actually equal to 11.42%, which is an outstanding return when compared to what we believe the plan can achieve on a long-term basis. Sean of Vescor will provide more information about the performance in his remarks a little later. Now, in order to be able to determine the financial position of the plan, we need to compare the assets of the plan to its liability. The plan's liability is a representation of how much money we believe should be in the fund at the time of the valuation in order to pay all the benefits that members have accrued up to the valuation date. The liability is represented here by the orange bars. Over the last 9 years, the plan's liability went from just over $1.7 billion at the end of 2015 to over $2.95 billion at December 31st, 2024. You will notice that the assets in the plan were about equal to its liability back in 2015. It has now improved significantly over the last 9 years, with assets now exceeding liabilities by about $435 million at December 31st, 2024. To ultimately determine the financial position of the plan, the trustees add to the assets the amount of contribution made to the plan in excess of the cost of the accruing benefits over the next 15 years. These excess contributions will allow a further buildup of assets, which in turn increases the security of benefits and will be used to provide highly probable and predictable protection against inflation through the award of cost of living adjustments and other benefit improvements. On December 31st, 2024, those excess contributions for the next 15 years following the valuation date represent an amount of $680 million, which when added to the assets, give us a total adjusted asset value of over $4.07 billion. When you divide these assets by the liability, you obtain a funded ratio called the open group funded ratio. This funded ratio is the measure that is used by the trustees to determine how much they will have available to spend on providing COLA to plan members and providing other benefit improvements in accordance with the terms of the funding policy for the plan. It also determines if contributions have to be adjusted up or down, or in very rare circumstances, if benefits have to be reduced. As you can see in this graph, over the years, this ratio has remained well above 100%. This means that we expect that there's enough assets in the plan, including excess contributions, to provide for all the benefits payable for the lifetime of active members and retirees. The funded ratio has in fact increased from a level of 122.7% at the end of 2015 to 139.1 at its highest at December 31st, 2021. As you are aware, since 2022, we've experienced inflation levels not seen in decades. It's interesting to note from the graph that while inflation was kept in check during the period of 2015 to 2021, you can see that the plan was able, as a general trajectory, to continuously improve its financial position. That period was essentially used to prepare for more tumultuous times. So while inflation has spiked in 2022 and 2023, the good work of the prior years, during which time a significant surplus was accumulated, has allowed the trustees to prioritize the award of expensive elevated COLAs to plan members. This caused the plan's financial status to pause its increasing trajectory while those elevated COLAs were awarded. And we can see that the financial position retreated to just over 130 for the following 2 years in 2022 and 2023 from the level of 139.1 at December 31st, 2021. During those 2 years, COLAs for over 5.5% per year were awarded. And last year, a COLA of 3.11 was provided, covering all inflation during that period. We can now breathe a sigh of relief that this period of high inflation has subsided. Over the last year, inflation has remained at about 2%, which is equal to the target set by the Bank of Canada. We can also see that the financial position of the plan has recovered from its lower funded ratio over the last 2 years and has now reached an enviable position of 137.7% at December 31st, 2024. It now appears that the battle against inflation is in the rearview mirror, and the plan is left in one of its best funded position ever. Both of those bodes really well for the future. Actuarial projections that we conduct every year for the trustees reveal that we can expect that the increasing trajectory of the funded ratio for the plan will continue in the long term, as it has during the period of 2015 to 2021. There will likely be bumps in the road, but you can rest assured that with a funded ratio of over 137% as of today, your plan is better prepared than it has ever been to face whatever market uncertainties that may lie ahead.
I'll now go into French. Let's now talk about the risk management tests conducted annually. The first management risk test involve calculating the probability of base benefits under the plan will not be reduced over the next 20 years. This first test indicates that in 99.55% of the study cases, the base benefits payable from the plan are not reduced. This score well exceeds the minimum of 97.5% mandated by the pension law. The second risk management test involves in calculation of the average cost of living increases that we can expect to bring under the plan over the next 20 years. This calculation results in an expected average cost of living adjusted 100% of inflation for the next 20 years. Again, the result of this second is outstanding and indicates the full cost of living adjustments should be expected to continue in the future. This brings me to the topic of inflation and cost of living adjustments. Your plan has been designed to provide protection against inflation throughout the award of cost of living, or the COLAs. Inflation is measured by the increase in the cost price index reported by Stat Canada every month. For the 12-month period ending in June 2025, the average increase in the consumer price index, or inflation, in Canada was 2.01%. Given the continued healthy financial position of the plan at the beginning of 2025 of over 1.37%, the trustees were able to provide a COLA of 2.01%, which will be effective on January 1st, 2026. This COLA again covers the full inflation in Canada. This COLA is provided at a cost of $56.8 million. It is a great achievement by the plan to have been in a position to provide COLAs which have equaled the full inflation since its conversion to a shared risk plan, especially during times when inflation has spiked at levels not seen in decades. And the plan did so while maintaining a funded level among the highest ever, over 137%. Now, before ending my presentation, I want to take a few minutes to discuss about traffic lights, a communication tool developed by the Board of Trustees. The board put in place in the last year traffic lights communication to communicate more effectively the financial health of the plan. The traffic light was identified as a quick and easy way to transmit information about the financial status of the pension plan and its ability to provide COLA. It is now being used in most communication material issued by the trustees, such as the newsletters and annual reports. The traffic light will change color depending on the level of the open group funded ratio of the plan. In turn, the level of the funded ratio provides you with indication of ability to have a COLA at the end of the year. Therefore, we hope you will be in a better position to appreciate the health of the plan and the ability to have the traffic light that will be revealed every year when the actuarial evaluation results will be available. A green light indicates that the funded ratio of the plan exceeds 120%. A funded ratio of over 120% indicates that the plan is in a healthy financial position and can provide a COLA for that year. As you can appreciate, with a funded ratio which is actually at 137.7%, the plan is currently showing a green light. A yellow light would start to be shown on communication material when the plan's funded ratio falls between 105 and 120. This yellow light would mean that the COLA can be granted most of the time, but it may be less than full inflation. That means that there will also be years where under yellow light that COLA may not be provided. And finally, a red light would mean that the plan's funded ratio has fallen below 105%. This means that the plan is not able to award COLA while the funded ratio would remain at that level. Furthermore, there would be a heightened risk of increases in contributions, as those would appear when and if the plan's funded ratio falls below 100% for 2 consecutive years. Finally, under the red light, a possibility of reduction of benefits would be a concern. The trustees certainly hope they never have to show a red light to the membership, but the communication tool allows in the financial position deteriorates at that point, the probability of this scenario happening is very low. Now, if we look back in the years, if the trustees would have adopted that tool of communication since 2015, we can confirm that since then it was always in a green light status because the funded ratio never went below 120%. This means that the plan has remained in a healthy financial position over the last decade or so, with an ability to provide consistent and predictable COLA throughout these years. I hope you found this information provided interesting and useful and better understand the financial health of your plan. I hope that this new traffic light communication tool will offer all members with a quick way to determine the financial health of the plan and its ability to provide COLA. I thank you for your attending this information session, and I will remain available for the question period. Tom, back to you.
Thank you, Yves. Updates on the plan's funded status, including the traffic light, are always available on the plan's website and in our semi-annual newsletters. The website can be accessed through cbenb.ca for any updates. Joining us next is Sean Hewitt, President and Chief Executive Officer of Vescor, Inc. Vescor is the plan's chosen investment manager for administration service and administrative services provider. Sean will speak to the investment and administrative results of the plan. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you very much, Tom, and good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. I now have about 18 months under my belt here as the President and CEO of Vescor and as a New Brunswicker. It's an honor for me to present to you all today as a representative of your pension administrator and investment manager. But first, a little bit about us, just a reminder of who Vescor is. We offer innovative and cost-effective investment management and pension and benefits administration services right here in New Brunswick. We have 160 professionals located in the province, and importantly, we are independent and non-for-profit. Our staff are also members of a pension plan that we manage, and we are all very passionate about what we do daily on behalf of all of our clients and their members, and have a personal tie to the outcomes as well as a contributing member. In addition, we are owned by two pension plans, the New Brunswick Public Service Pension Plan and the Teachers Pension Plan. Those two pensions are responsible for approving Vescor's overall budget and approving an independent professional board of directors that Vescor staff reports to. That independent board of directors has deep professional experience in pension and investment management, finance and accounting best practices, human resources, and organizational governance. We are regulated as an investment fund manager and portfolio manager by the New Brunswick Financial and Consumer Services Commission. Altogether, we support 114,000 pension plan members, 43,000 employee benefit members, and over 100 employer groups. We'll start the review of our services by talking about investment management. So this is a list of things that we are responsible for, all of which are very important and contributes to the financial health of the plan. We do the day-to-day management of investments and are responsible for the investment approach and execution of investment strategy. We are responsible to provide regular reporting of investment performance to the Board of Trustees, regular reporting on compliance and responsible investments. And we do work with the plan actuary to conduct analysis on the sustainability of the plan and do plan projections. It's important to note that we do not determine the plan's risk tolerance or fund objectives or determine the plan's target asset allocation. Moving on to the next slide, at present, we have approximately 23 billion under management across all plans in New Brunswick, which makes us the largest investment manager in Atlantic Canada and one of the largest nationwide. An interesting feature of the investment management at Vestcor is the capabilities of our internal team. Of that 23 billion, over 80% of it is managed by the internal team here in New Brunswick. And this is significantly different from other pension investment organizations, which often rely on relatively expensive third-party for-profit investment management firms located in Toronto and elsewhere. This combination of our size and internally managed approach has resulted in our investment management costs as being one of the lowest in Canada, according to external cost benchmarking studies. In 2024, our costs were about 0.2% lower than the average pension investment organization our size. That 0.2% on a total of 23 billion translates into $45 million of cost reduction annually. Those cost savings are accrued directly to our clients and their members. Moving on to your plan, to the CBE plan, we have roughly 3.36 billion under management for the CBE pension plan. Those assets are well diversified. Returns are exceeding benchmarks and supporting strong funded position over time, and risk is efficiently managed. Let's look at where the assets are within the plan. So here is a snapshot of those assets, of the asset mix of the plan. To find a copy of this information, please refer to the plan's 2024 annual report, which is available on the website. The URL appears at the bottom of the page. The investments of the plan are very well diversified, with its largest component of the investment strategy comprised of relatively low-risk corporate bonds, real estate and infrastructure, and government bonds. To round out the portfolio, there are also allocations to higher return-seeking assets, such as global equities, private equity, and all of which are subject to the risk-controlled nature of the plan's investment policy, which is approved by the Board of Trustees. Taken as a total portfolio, this is designed to perform under a variety of market conditions in order to meet the pension obligations today and for the long term. And here's a slide showing the investment returns specific to the CBE pension plan. In 2024, we earned a total return of 11.42% on behalf of the plan, which is modestly above the investment benchmark over that period. This is a really strong investment result, but importantly, we have earned strong risk-adjusted returns over the long term. The chart is showing an annualized return of 6.9% over the 4-year period and 6.83% over the past 10 years. It's important to note that the investment performance of our team has meaningfully outperformed both the benchmark return and the plan's discount rate. The plan's discount rate is a measure of the long-term return that is needed to maintain the financial health of the plan over time. The plan's investment return in excess of the benchmark return is a measure of how well the Vestcor team is doing in actively managing the investment portfolio. The benchmarks for each component of the investment portfolio are determined by the CBE board through the Statement of Investment Policies and Procedures, which is available on the CBE website. Moving on, we're in November 2025. So we provided just a brief snapshot of where returns are shown through June 30th of this year, where we have earned a 2.8% investment return for the first 6 months of the year, which is a little bit below the investment benchmark return over the period. Over the 1 year period ending June 30th, we have earned a 9.74% return, and the last 12 months have been characterized by relatively high returns, driven largely from global equity markets, very strong global equity markets, despite considerable volatility over the year. In general, the plan continues to perform very well. The plan's diversified investment approach is designed to provide stable investment returns over time, which protects the plan in down markets. However, this approach does mean that the plan's investment returns will not be as high as some peers when there is really strong equity market returns. Looking at the administration, pension administration function at Vescor, here's a list of things that we were responsible for. Answering day-to-day questions. So when you call, have a question about your pension plan, our member services staff is available to answer those questions. We receive employee and employer contributions on behalf of clients. We pay monthly pensions through our pension payroll services, and we fulfill pension-related requests. For example, pension estimates, retirements, marriage breakdown calculations, and purchasing of a service calculations. Some quick facts about the administration services. We may remain quite active with over 36,500 member and employer contacts over the year, and with over 7,000 member applications processed. Importantly, we regularly benchmark the costs of our administration services against national peers, and we're proud to report that we continue to execute the pension administration services very cost effectively. Our cost per member, as ranked by a national peer group, is the lowest in our lowest amongst Canadian peers at $111 per member. We continue to work on incorporating environmental, social, and governance issues into our investment and risk management processes. Late last year, we released our third annual responsible investment report, which includes climate-related financial disclosures. Additionally, our responsible investment activities include industry associations and dedicated to responsible investments, Vescor's responsible investment guidelines, and a commitment to the United Nations Principles for Responsible Investment as a signatory, which we became in 2024. More detail, including Vescor's responsible investment guidelines, can be found at vescor.org/investments under responsible investing. Also new for 2024, the CBE released its first plan-specific responsible investment report. That report details information such as carbon footprint metrics for your plan. And then moving on, I'll just talk about Vescor in the community. We have a strong partnership with the University of New Brunswick, and throughout the organization, we have staff teach subjects such as corporate finance, investment management, and investment risk management. Additionally, we remain highly engaged in the community and encourage our staff to volunteer in various capacities. 26 years ago, Vescor, Vescor's predecessor entity, started a student investment fund where we became an initial funding partner and have ongoing development with the University of New Brunswick. And it gives students at the University of New Brunswick a chance to analyze whether they would like investment management as a part of their career choice. And maybe I'll just close in summary. Vescor continues to cost effectively exceed the long-term objectives of our clients as intended. Our organizational structure and governance model is built on industry best practices with independent oversight, and we are committed to serving our clients and their beneficiaries. Thank you very much. I'll turn it back over to you, Tom, and I'm available to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Sean. As Sean mentioned, mid-year results and additional details on the upcoming cost of living adjustment and more were recently shared in the plan's fall newsletter distributed to all members and now available on the plan's website. And as always, VESCOR is available to answer questions related to your specific pension, whether you are contributing to the plan or in receipt of a pension. We recognize that some of the information shared this evening is complex, but we hope you have gained a better understanding of where the plan stands today. If there are three things I hope you take away from this evening, they would be: number one, the plan is well funded and in a healthy financial position. You should be proud and reassured at the results presented this evening. Number two, we have been in a position to award full cost of living adjustments to all plan members every year since the conversion of the plan to a shared risk plan. All active, deferred, and retired members receive these increases, which help ensure current and future pensions keep up with inflation. The next adjustment, announced this evening, will be applied as of January 1, 2026. This is an extremely positive outcome, especially when considering that some of our peer plans have no cost of living adjustments, and in some cases, those plans are not fully funded and remain at some level of risk. Number three, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact VESCOR for answers. Their member services team is a resource that is available to you 5 days a week. Call, email, or visit them. Visit your plan's website for more information as well. We will now move on to our question and answer period. I'm pleased to welcome Susie Pruill-Dagg, who is a trustee on the plan's board, to moderate this session.
Thank you, Tom. Bonsoir tout le monde. It's my pleasure to join you this evening to moderate this question and answer period. My name is Susie, and I'm a trustee on the board of the CBE pension plan. Now, joining us to answer your questions are members of the Board of Trustees. We also have Yves Plourde, partner at TELUS Health, our plan's actuary. We have Sean Hewitt, VESCOR's president and CEO, our plan's investment manager and administration services provider, and also Kent Eric Fries, the manager of VESCOR's member services team. The first question that I have will go to you, Tom. And the question is, has there been a time frame established by the Board of Trustees for voting on lowering the retirement age for nurses and allied health professionals to 62 years of age? We can't see or hear you, Tom.
Let's see. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay. Let me see if the video. Well, no, the video is not working for me, but as long as you can hear me. So the process is that when the parties being the two unions and the employer, when they reach an agreement on a change in the pension plan, they inform the Board of Trustees that has happened. So the letter from the parties arrived yesterday, informing us that this has been negotiated. That letter did not contain the actual numbers. We understand that we will have the numbers within the next couple of days. The Board of Trustees, their role in this is to ensure that the proposed changes are equitable for all members of the plan. That is a legal requirement, considered a fiduciary duty that courts, it's a standard of conduct that courts hold trustees to. This appears to be a rather straightforward evaluation. I think our goal, without having sat down as a board yet to make sure that we've covered everything off, I don't think it will take an extensive amount of time. And by that, I think it's likely a few weeks. I don't think it's going to go on for months and months. Then once that is complete, then it's just a question of VESCOR making the appropriate changes to the internal systems. So we don't anticipate this being a long process, provided we are all surprised by something that hasn't been thought of. And given the work that's been done on this, I see that as a pretty low probability. So I guess the answer is we would like to be in a position within the next few weeks to move it forward to implementation.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Next question is for Kent. If a person receives fiscal or pension and lives in another province, does the income based on the New Brunswick income tax or the province where the person is living? Thank you for the question, Sylvie. The income tax is retained at the source of the province where the person resides. So that's where the person lives. That is their address, their residence that they're going to be taxed on. Thank you.
Next question is for Yves Claude. Our fund is 132% overfunded. Understanding that the goal is to overfund at 120%, who sets this benchmark? And at what point is the contribution lowered when overfunded? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Susie. Actually, our fund right now is overfunded at 137%, as we saw tonight. So even better funding position. The goal is 120% is not necessarily the goal. 120% is the amount at which we consider the plan in a very healthy financial position, and then it's a point where cost of living can be afforded almost every year and in full. But when we are higher than that, then we can provide additional benefits as well, such as benefits that you've seen in the past, benefits that recognize the final average 5 earnings for active members, and also for retirees, final average 5 earnings at retirement. Then after that, when we hit 140, we start building a reserve so that we can, in advance, fund the future cost of living of the plan. So those benchmarks are found in the funding policy in the plan. They were set by the parties, as Tom mentioned, the 2 unions and the province when the plan was started back in 2012. And we're still working on trying to meet as much as possible those benchmarks. When we hit 140, we'll start building that reserve for future indexing. And when that reserve is built, that's when a contribution reduction can be implemented. We're not at 140 yet, and that building of the reserve for indexing will require a few years. It's quite expensive to build a reserve for 10 years of indexing. That's represents about 18% of the liability. So I wouldn't hold my breath to wait for a contribution reduction, but once the reserve is built and we're still above 140, then that's when under the funding policy, contribution reduction can be contemplated by the Board of Trustees.
Yves, don't leave yet.
Next question. Thank you for the excellent evaluation. I'm just wondering what level the funding ratio would be necessary to attain 100%, that the payments could be respected in the future. 99.5% at the present time, I believe. Thank you for the question, Susie. I'd like it if we could go to 100% and guarantee that the payments are going to be paid for everybody for the rest of their lives. Absolutely. But the fact is that the type of plan we find ourselves cannot guarantee the pension payments. It's a fact that there is no third party that guarantees the payment of the pension, like an insurance company or even the province. The province has an obligation is to pay, like the participants who are forecast in the text of the plan and a funding policy, but not to guarantee the payments. So given that information, it is impossible to get to 100%. What we have to do is to get as close to it as possible. And then it means that the pension is very safe. So at 99.5, 55% is an excellent result for the safety of pensions. And maybe we could increase it a bit more, but to get to 100%, it's impossible given that nobody guarantees pension payments. Thank you, Yves.
Next one's for Sean. Sean, can you provide a couple of investment examples of absolute return strategies?
Yes, certainly. Thank you for the question. So an absolute return strategy is designed to earn a positive rate of return no matter what the kind of the broader market is doing. So to contrast that, when you invest in, say, equity investments in the stock market, you expect to earn a good rate of return over a long period of time. But over a shorter period of time, there will be some years in which you earn a positive rate of return and other years in which you earn a negative rate of return. What an absolute return strategy does is removes all of the kind of underlying market movements and instead focuses on things like relative value. So is this company better than that company? You would make an investment in one company and you would do something called short a different company. And so what that's designed to do is to be a very, very stable but positive returning investment strategy each and every year. Now, we can't do it each and every year in a practical sense, but the level of investment risk that we're taking is very, very low and designed to provide a really, really stable underlying rate of return.
All right, Sean, for you again, is there emphasis on the Canadian market and Canadian companies to promote growth within Canada?
There is a huge allocation to Canada. We think that Canada is a good place to invest, and it's consistent with the investment policy of the pension plan. And so, as it stands today, out of the plan's assets, where roughly 50% of that is invested in Canada. That includes equity investments, fixed income investments, real estate, and other types of investments. Of the 50% that's not in Canada, roughly half of that is in the United States, and the remaining 25% of the plan's assets would be invested in non-North American investments. And when you rank where we sit versus other large plans in Canada, our position or exposure to the Canadian market is generally higher than other plans, and that's worked out really well for us. And we think that there's a real strong continued theme for us to maintain a large presence in the Canadian market.
All right. The next one, Kent, is for you. Kent?
How can I calculate my pension? I'm a stranger worker. I worked 10 years in my original country, but I only have 2 years in Canada. That is, I started working at the age of 38. Thank you for the question. So when it comes to calculate for these, we'll only look at the year that you've worked and lived here in New Brunswick. This being said, you can always have a follow-up with the years where you worked in another country to find out what is offered as pension, or if you've had options for pensions in that country. But when it comes really to your pension with the CBE, it's based on the years of work that you've paid in the plan here in New Brunswick. Thank you.
Next question for Tom. Tom, what does the acronym CBE stand for?
CBE stands for Certain Bargaining Employees, and that has been the name of the plan, I think, since its inception. I'm really not sure the origin of that phrase, but that's been the name. It's Certain Bargaining Employees.
Thank you. Now back to Sean. Sean, can you compare or comment about the investment returns relative to peer organizations in Canada, example CPP, Ontario Teachers, etc.?
I can, yes, certainly. And it's important to note that each plan would have different levels of risk tolerance. So the CPP, as an example, has very, very long dated liabilities, and as a result, they have the ability to take on quite a bit of investment risk. And while we would have outperformed the CPP from a return perspective over the last fiscal year, over longer periods of time, because they're taking on a considerable amount of risk, they may outperform your plan. Similarly, with the Ontario Teachers, we did have a higher rate of return in the last 18 months, but each plan would have a various kind of risk and return goals. As it relates to the CBE plan, we do a benchmarking exercise that compares the level of return that we earn and the level of risk that we take on. And what it shows is over the last 4-year period, which is a typical kind of measurement period when analyzing these things, and we produce it each and every year. But for the last 4-year period, what it showed is that your plan was above the average Canadian pension plan, with a fair bit of margin, but it came at a much, much lower risk. And so you would be in the bottom, call it 10% in terms of the level of risk that you're taking on, which is a good thing, and a modestly higher rate of return relative to the average. So on a risk-adjusted basis, your plan has performed exceptionally well. And that really is appropriate given the objectives of the plan, and making sure that we're able to provide the type of return support needed for the plan to continue to maintain a very strong funded position and to provide continued cost of living adjustments.
Sean, I have another one for you. Would it be possible to have a table showing the returns for each year since the CBE pension plan began? Also, could we have the annualized returns for the years since the pension plan was created? This table could be made available on your website or included in your newsletter or provided upon request by members.
Thank you for the question. That information is publicly available. We do publish annual returns for the previous calendar year in the CBE newsletter, which is available on the website. To get a table of annual returns going back, at present, you would need to review each of those newsletters. I'd be happy to work with the CBE trustees to consider putting that information in the table as suggested in an upcoming newsletter. And thank you for the suggestion.
Also, Sean, one for you again. When you say Vestcor is making carbon footprints a priority, what I hear is that profitability is only a secondary priority over the overall fund's monetary situation. So is this correct?
I love that question. Thank you. The answer is no. That we are here to earn a really good rate of return over time, and that's the primary objective, and really the only objective is to earn a really strong risk-adjusted return over time. But we do make very long-dated investments. Some of our investments, particularly in infrastructure and real estate, are investments that we expect to be in for a very long time. And so we need to effectively do that, to manage the risks around that. We need to understand what the current kind of environmental situation is and what we expect it to be over the long term. Because one thing that we don't want to do is have investments that do poorly as a result of a changing climate, as an example. So it's all very much in the construct of earning returns to support the pension. We don't have a target, a specified target when it comes to carbon footprint or anything like that. But incorporating environment, social, and governance issues into investment processes, we believe will lead to greater risk-adjusted returns over time. But it's an excellent question. Thank you.
I have another one for you. Any investment in the AI stocks?
There would be some, although the investment in AI stocks in this plan I would wager would be quite a bit lower than some other pensions. We don't have huge exposures to the really high-flying US technology companies. And that's where you see a lot of the AI in the market. While we would have some, we wouldn't have as much as perhaps some others. But we do make investments in, say, data centers, which we think is also a little bit of the AI theme, but in a more stable environment, a more stable return, and that is a valuable part of the portfolio. And we would continue to assess opportunities like that. Thank you.
You're not off the hot seat yet.
Okay.
Of the investments in our pension plan, what percentage is invested in exchange traded funds, so the ETFs?
Sure. Yes. The majority of the investments of the plan are managed here internally in New Brunswick. And while the plan would have some exposure to ETFs or other index replication type approaches, the majority of the investments are actively managed, and so you wouldn't have a lot of exposure to exchange traded funds or other kind of passive investments.
Sean, has Vescor considered offering New Brunswickers with the ability to invest personally into a fund that Vescor manages? If the risk-adjusted return performance is so good, it would be nice to have an option that allows more New Brunswickers to have that same opportunity.
Would be a great area of development, and something that we're starting to see some of our peers offer is, we call it additional voluntary contributions, in which it would be held and would get the same investment return that your pension plan does. I have interest in that. There is quite some work that we would need to do in order to get ourselves prepared. But that's an excellent question, and it's something that we're thinking about actually at Vescor. So I appreciate that.
One question here. How can the letter have arrived when MSP has not voted on it yet? So I think they're referring to the reduction in age. Now the pension, I guess the pension information was not part of the collective agreement. It's a totally separate totally separate issue. So that's not part of the contract for the medical science professionals. I'm assuming that's what it is that they're referring to, but both aren't intertwined, both aren't related. Do we have any other questions? I don't see any further questions. So I will say that.
Yes, we are now to conclude our question and answer period. If you do have questions that you couldn't ask, you can do that by email or phone.
A reminder that a copy of the recording, again, of today's meeting will be available on the plan's website in the coming days. And if you have any specific questions to your own pension, please contact Vescor's member services team using the information on the screen. Again, thank you everyone for your participation. Good night.